All right, in this video, let me show you what the Unity project looks like. So when you install Unity, use the personal or the student versions. Normally what you'll get is the Unity Hub and Unity Editor. So Unity Hub is like a management tool. You can have multiple versions of Unity. You have many projects, and it just helps you organize it. In this class, I am using the latest Unity. So if you go right to download and download the default one, it'll be 2022 39F1 or something similar to that. I'm in the 2022 Unity version. And I already have the project here, and you could just, for you, you're going to go to projects and click new project and designate your location and name your project and just start from scratch. It'll just be a basic 3D project. For me, I already have it open. So this is what Unity looks like. And this is what the project will look like at the end of the first section. So we're going to grow it. This is like the simplest version. This represents 3 weeks of work. And if I play it, it's just a basic painting app. And we're using these 3D primitives, in this case, these spheres, as our painting line. So as the user is left dragging, we're creating multiple spheres that are so close to each other that it looks like a painting line. And they get random scaling put on them. They get random colors put on them. They get positioned right where the mouse cursor is. And after 3 seconds, they get destroyed. So that's why it looks like the kind of paint stroke, is kind of staying at a certain size. And I can right click to delete. And the instructions are up here. Left click to paint, right click to erase. You have to instruct the user, prompt the user. They have to understand what they're doing with your app. If I click off time destroy, that's a checkbox, turn it off. Notice I painted when I used the user interface. That's okay. It's sub-performance, it's a bug, but this is just 3 weeks of work. We're going to continue improving it. We're going to fix that in the second section. So if I turn off time to destroy, notice I draw a painting stroke and it's not being destroyed, but I can still right click to delete it. So it's a different functionality I'm giving to the user. I can clear out the screen. I can switch to a different painting stroke, in this case cubes. And I can switch to cylinders. So those are different types of painting strokes or different 3D primitives that we can offer the user to paint with. I'm just going to turn back on time to destroy because it's easier to show off the rest of this stuff. So here's like, this was a drop down, by the way. This is a button. Here's a size slider. So a slider that we offer the user that can change the size of the painting stroke. And we can change the color. So I can pull red out, and you just have random shades of green and blue. And here's just blue. And I can change these to it's just like red and mixtures of red and green or whatever you'd like. And the only thing else I'll note is that here we're showing off the mouse position. You could think of this more like as a debug part of the UI, or this is something meant for the developer. So I'm showing you that where the mouse cursor is moving, we actually have a position, an X left, right, and a Y value up and down. This is how we'll begin to tell where the user is moving the mouse when they're left clicking or right clicking, and how we figure out where to place stuff, or if we're clicking on stuff. So that represents 3 weeks of work right there. We're going to start off with diagramming and end up with coding. And that will be your first quiz, all the material that you learn to do that. Now, toward the end of the class, it'll start to look something like this. I trimmed off some of the ending material because it was too long for this semester. But you'll get something close to this, where things are more polished, the UI is more complicated, it's more cleaned up, there's more features. And if I paint, notice that like the visuals look nicer, they're glowy, and there's animations, it's bouncy, it's fun. And when I delete, I get like a little explosion effect. If I turn off spawn time, I can like pause the animation, I can speed it up, I can switch out the animation. And here's like some of the stuff you remember now, but here's some newer stuff like close and opacity. And I can randomize everything, randomize how long they live for, randomize what type of object, randomize its animation speed, randomize its animation type that's playing. And we can change the time of day. So the user could be like, I'm most relaxed at playing at evening, or maybe a dark nightscape, or early morning, or what have you. And so this is the 3 months of work, more or less. And along the way, you'll learn a lot about UX, software design, this Unity editor, computer graphics, colors, some animation, and mostly programming in C#. And I'll explain all these parts of the Unity editor, what's going on down here and in these tabs. But for right now, I'll just open up a script. This is a C# script. It's one of the resources in my project. And if I double click on it, it's going to open up Visual Studio. We will be using Visual Studio Community. You can log into it for free with your Microsoft account if you want to. Don't have to. Some students are using VS Code in other classes and our other software editors. If you're comfortable and want to code somewhere else, that's fine. But if you're new, use this. And the reason for that is it has IntelliSense connected to Unity. So yes, we're using a basic C#, but we're using some libraries from Unity. So some of this stuff might be familiar to, like an integer is a number. A Boolean is true or false. But we have other types available to us, like game object variables or transforms, things that are specific to Unity that you will learn about. And as I'm typing, you see that the IntelliSense prompt is filling stuff out for me, or trying to offer me solutions to what I'm writing. So to have access to that to help you out with coding, you're just going to use the basic setup with Visual Studio. There is a plugin, a similar plugin for VS Code, but you gotta have to like watch, you have to look it up on how to connect it up yourself. So if you're new, just use this. All right. Is there any questions on Unity or Visual Studio or what this project is, this 3D painting app that we're building? Cool. So I will very quickly just go back to the beginning of the class. Says, hey, for the first section, we're going to build just a very basic skeleton of a painting app. These are the 3 main features we're using. I will describe what these user flow diagrams are in the next video. But as you can see here, this one has to do with a painting flow. How do we give a feature that allows the user to paint? This feature has to deal with changing the primitive or changing how your painting stroke looks. How do we give the feature of changing a primitive to the user? And this feature has to deal with changing the color. How do we allow the user to change the color of their painting stroke? So first we sit down, we think about what are we building and why, and then we design it out, and we mock it up, and we prototype it, and we write up some design requirements before we actually do the heavy programming lifting. And I'll stop it here.